big-time debate between Vikings fans right now. Who is the better coach? Is it Brian Flores or is it Kevin O'Connell? And I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on that on today's show. And on the second half of today's show, thinking big picture here about this organization. After a disastrous season, I have 5 big-picture thoughts for the Minnesota Vikings. Coming up in just a second. But before we do so, if you guys could, hit that subscribe button today. Our bosses challenge us here at Chat Sports to pick up the most subscribers ever on a show, and the most subs we ever gained was 432. So I am challenging you guys, but I got faith in you guys. We need 500 new subscribers on today's show. So if you guys are new here and haven't hit that subscribe button just yet, help us out. It's free and an easy way to help us grow this channel here on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button today and see if we could somehow shock my bosses and potentially make me look good for them. So hit that subscribe button today. All right, so the conversation we're going to be having here is between Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores. And we're going to speculate a little bit because let's just say in this hypothetical world that Brian Flores is offered a head coaching position this offseason. Should the Vikings let go and fire Kevin O'Connell and promote Brian Flores? Now, I think the Vikings, first off, would never fire KOC to promote Brian Flores. They just gave Kevin O'Connell a mega 5-year extension, upwards of $15 million per year. So the Wills being a little bit, stingy with their money. Maybe stingy is the wrong word, but maybe a little cheaper compared to other ownership groups in the NFL. This would never even be a possibility, but maybe it could be the right move because I was thinking back at other former coordinators to leave their organizations to pick up a head coaching job, and I think these other organizations would probably view these as mistakes. Mike Macdonald leaving the Ravens, catastrophic mistake. John Harbaugh's on the hot seat. I'm sure if they had to redo it, they would much rather have Mike Macdonald compared to John Harbaugh. Same could be said about Ben Johnson. Dan Campbell without Ben Johnson, he's 11-21. Ben Johnson's there. They're one of the best teams in the league. I'm sure Lions fan would much rather have Ben Johnson compared to Dan Campbell. Even Liam Cohen leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Todd Bowles is an okay head coach. But again, I'm sure they would much rather have Liam Cohen instead of what they have right now. And also, this isn't just offensive-minded guys or defensive-minded guys. It's a mixture of both. And I'm not saying this is an easy decision by any means. We're just like, oh, yeah, fire Kevin O'Connell. Let's promote Brian Flores, because firing an established head coach who also has already won a Coach of the Year award and is one of the better head coaches in the league, it's tough to do. But it could be the right move. And I'm not up here saying KOC is a bad coach by any means. This guy wins games. He's a very good coach. Is he a great coach? We don't know that. Could he be a great coach? Maybe, but we don't know that as well. But in terms of Brian Flores, he's a hell of a defensive mind. And I think he could be a hell of a head coach because what they are doing defensively this season is truly phenomenal. I mean, the fact that they have somehow climbed up to being a top 10 scoring defense this year is unbelievable. They are 5th in yards per game. They're 5th in yards per play. They have the number 1 red zone scoring defenses where teams are only scoring touchdowns 43% of the time in the red zone. And they're only giving up 2 touchdowns per game, which is 3rd in the National Football League. And there's no doubt in my mind the Vikings defense this year is a top 3 unit in the NFL. This is with also missing Blake Cashman for a month, missing Van Ginkel for a month. You've missed Grenard now for a couple of weeks. You have missed Metellus for a couple weeks. You have had a ton of injuries, but this defense is still a top 3 unit. That goes on the defensive coordinator. That goes on the play caller. That goes on the head coach on that side of the football. And if you say, oh, Patrick, wow, how are the Vikings 8-8? If Kevin O'Connell, if you say he's not as good as Flores, well, I think Flores is the reason the Vikings are 8-8. Like, listen to Kevin O'Connell's locker room speech after the Lions game. Him pretty much apologizing for how bad his offense has been and then praising his defense. I'm sure that kind of, stuck with KOC a little bit where he's like, man, how am I supposed to keep on doing this? Like, my side of the football, we can't get it together. We got Brian Flores being historically great on his side. I'm sure maybe he's even thinking about it a little bit. And yes, the quarterback play for the Vikings has been absolutely horrific this year. I think the biggest reason why the Vikings, if you're going to go in a negative light, are a 500 football team is because of the quarterback play. But also head coach gets blamed too because KOC's offense can't look this bad, where they're truly one of the worst offenses in the league when they're not getting good quarterback play. I mean, here are their numbers running the football on the season. Still can't do it consistently enough. Now, the Vikings on this 4-game winning streak have been actually running the ball the second most out of any team in the NFL, but you're still 20th on the season. And it's not like you can't run the ball. They're top 11 in yards per carry, but rushes per game, you're 28th. Now, I think also a big reason for this, and this also goes back to KOC, the Vikings running the second least amount of offensive plays in the NFL this season, but rush yards per game, 24th, rush touchdowns per game, 20th. So clearly KOC, yes, he's adjusted a little bit, but he should have adjusted earlier on this season. Jordan Addison finally got a carry. That's his second carry of the year. The first one for 16 yards. The one yesterday went for 65. How about you give him the football a little more? So KOC, when he doesn't have protection up front, when he doesn't have that veteran quarterback, and he's got one hand tied behind his back, he can't generate offense like we have seen other head coaches or other play callers in the league. Even when they're getting bad quarterback play, they can just manufacture some sort of a sustainable offense. So I'll ask you guys what you would do if it really came down to it. Like if you just said to say, hey, all things are equal, the contract, the money, it doesn't mean anything, and just pick a head coach, KOC, Brian Flores, I would go Flores. But you guys let me know, would you fire KOC to promote Brian Flores? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Now we'll talk about some 5 big picture thoughts I have on the Vikings here in a second, but today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the holiday season, and it's the best time of year for sports. You have bowl games, basketball and football matchups, playoff pushes. It is all happening at once. And when you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it always feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks. And if you guys download the app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks is super simple to play. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get your picks right, you can cash in. So get in on the action. PrizePicks is now available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. So download the PrizePicks app today. Plug in that promo code, CLNS. Get hooked up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code, CLNS, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Shout out to PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, so I kind of alluded to this on a previous show, and Phil Mackey brought this up, and I thought it was a really good point. He was saying, where would the Vikings be if they signed Aaron Rodgers? And I think it's pretty obvious to see, or to say that they should have signed Aaron Rodgers, because when you have a defense as good as they are right now, if you just had a game-managing veteran quarterback, the Vikings would for sure be in the playoffs, and I think they would probably be duking out with the Bears for the number one, or for the NFC North title, because you start looking at other games this season like, okay, well, we would have beat the Steelers because they wouldn't have had Rodgers. We would have had him. You probably would have had a better chance against the Falcons. You would have probably beat the Bears. You would have probably beat the Ravens. Like, the Vikings probably would have been around 11, 12 wins with Rodgers, so I'll eat crow on this one. I said there's no way I'm signing Rodgers, but I was completely wrong on that. Because also, it's not like Rodgers compared to Darnold, where it's like, all right, Darnold would have been on the books for $30 million this year. Rodgers says he's playing for $12 million right now. He said he would have played for $5 million. So maybe that was a move the Vikings should have made. And, I do think KOC this year, like, obviously he's happy with the Vikings kind of battling back, getting to 8-8, have a chance of, end the season above 500. But you can't tell me that he's not embarrassed, like, especially since it's his side of the football. That is the biggest reason why they do have 8 losses, where if his side of the football, the offense would have just played serviceable football this season, they would have probably been an 11, 12-win team. So I'm sure after every game, him saying, like, yeah, our offense was bad, but Brian Flores and that defense, shout out to them. I'm sure, like, his ego gets into play a little bit, and he's probably feeling a little embarrassed. And that gets me to my third big picture thought here. Vikings are going to go big game hunting at the quarterback position. Whether that's Joe Burrow, maybe it's a name we haven't even thought about yet, but I find it hard to believe at KOC, and maybe they can't go big game hunting, but they at least do the due diligence of going out there and trying to land a big name guy, because I just still can't think that they're going to roll in the next season with just J.J. McCarthy, with KOC getting a little hot, with even Quezzy's seat getting a little hot, and especially with having still an elite defense. I think they're going to view next year, just like they should have viewed this year, as an all-in year with the amount of talent and the elite coaching staff this team has. I think they can go big game hunting at the quarterback spot. And the question does become, though, like, will major changes be made? Because, yes, you are probably going to be 8-9. Maybe you're 9-8. It's not like you went 3-14 or you went 5-12, for example. Are you still going to fire the GM? Are you going to let go of your offensive line coach? You're going to let go of Matt Daniels, your special teams coordinator? Like, will those be two moves, or will you fire the GM and make a major change to this organization, or letting go of a Ryan Grigson type of personnel member of this staff? So I don't think changes will be made. Should they? I think they should, because when you have as bad as an offseason the Vikings had, I think you have to, but we'll see what happens. And lastly, some positivity. Andrew Van Ginkel, this guy's awesome. Just like how we talk about, what would the Vikings be if they had JJ McCarthy healthy for the entire season? What if they have Van Ginkel healthy for the entire year? You probably win in Pittsburgh, or not in Pittsburgh, against Pittsburgh. I think you probably have a better chance of, beating the Eagles in that game. I don't know. Andrew Van Ginkel just got a whole lot better. Seeing him play over the last couple of weeks. I mean, him, Harrison Smith, and Brian Flores, and Dallas Turner now thrown in there. Those four, I think, and Jalen Redmond, of course. Like, those five have been the backbone of this defense this season. And AVG, man, fact that you got him for $12.5 million per year, I think that's one of the better bargain deals in the NFL. So shout out to 43, playing some great football yet again. But you guys let me know, what is your hottest take on the Vikings' disastrous season so far? You guys let me know your thoughts down below. We'll get on out of here. As always, Skull Vikes.